Okay, so Norway too has been no slouch when it comes to creating new climate policy. So let's hear now, get a Norwegian perspective from Andreas Bjelland Eriksen, State Secretary from the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy. The key man, Andreas.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, in Norway we have an extremely proud tradition with respect to energy and being able to deliver cheap and affordable energy to households, to businesses, to industry. Over more than 120 years, we have been able to utilize the fantastical natural resources we have in this country, building them together to deliver on the proposition that natural resources can benefit all of society. And at the same time, we have been able to reform, to develop, to create structures that have delivered on the challenges of its time. And we did it so successfully that until about a year and a half, cheap access to renewable electricity was something that we just had in this country. And then, with the utilization and weaponization of gas from Russia against Europe, against European solidarity with Ukraine, everything changed almost overnight. 40% of the gas supply delivered to Europe, more than 10 times the amount of energy that we produce from our hydropower-based system every year, fell away almost overnight, creating an unprecedented energy crisis in Europe, a crisis that also affects us here in Norway, due to the way that we have built out our power system to be able to weather ourselves in the case of challenging hydrological seasons. Now, it's easy to say that in the face of such a crisis, everything should be turned upside down and that you should find completely new answers to the new questions. But Europe and Norway has been able to answer the crisis together. We've seen unprecedented measures in Europe. We've seen the building up of new LNG terminals at a record speed. Last year, solar and wind generation in Europe increased by 10%. And from the Norwegian side, we have been able to increase gas production by almost 10%, delivering extra and needed energy to the European market. To say it in another way, Russia has not been successful in challenging European solidarity with Ukraine, the weapon, and trying to destabilize the European energy system has failed. We have been able to answer the call together. At the same time, the energy crisis that we see right now is also a crisis that will develop going forward if we're not able to deliver on the proposition suggested by the Norwegian Energy Commission, more of everything faster. We need more renewable electricity generation if we are to tackle the challenge of electrification, of decarbonization, of facilitating new and existing green industry. And this is an immense challenge to tackle this problem fast enough. We need to build offshore wind, solar, land-based wind, utilize energy smarter than the way we're utilizing it today at record speeds going forward if we are to actually meet our ambitious climate targets and deliver values, new jobs, new industry for the benefit of our common society. I believe that this is possible, And I probably should not be doing politics if I did not believe it was possible to do it in practice. But if we are to deliver on that proposition, we need to cooperate, we need to work together, we cannot isolate in practice. Some people argue now that we in Norway should enclose our energy system, our power system. I believe that that is the wrong way to tackle the current crisis. The Norwegian energy system will still be a weather-based system in the future. We will have to have connectivity to ensure stable, reliable electricity access in the future. And from the European side, systems need to be interconnected to tackle the challenges with unregulated power generation and to be sure that we can deliver enough, sufficient, cheap, reliable energy access going forward. Therefore, I am very glad about the way that much of this crisis have been met thus far. We have found a common proposition, a common way to tackle the crisis. But we should not forget that this should be the way that we tackle the crisis also going forward to be able to develop and answer the call going forward. I have been working with green policies since I was about 12 years old. And for much of that time, people have been talking about the energy transition, and then the concrete policy suggestions have been so and so. The advantage of the crisis that we now see is that for the first time, we have to transition our energy systems. There are not sufficient energy in the system today. We have to bring more energy into the system, both to tackle the crisis right now and to tackle the challenges going forward. I am forever an optimist. I am positive that we will be able to deliver on this proposition in practice, but then we need stronger cooperation. We need to do that cooperation in a way that is mutually beneficial, and we should never forget that the goal of this cooperation is to secure renewable, reliable, cheap access to electricity and energy also in the future. Thank you.